Hello and welcome to Euphoria. This week I'm going to be building this set, which is a Lego Creator 3-in-1 set, number 31097, and it's the townhouse with a cafe, a pet shop and an apartment in the main build. There are two alternative builds because it's a 3-in-1. So there's this kind of taller apartment as one alternative build, and then there's this which looks like a kind of tram stop and a tram as the second alternative build. But I think I'll be building it as the main build, which is this kind of corner building with the pet shop, little cafe and the hamburger stand. Now these buildings are open backed, as you can see from these pictures here. So I think what I'll be doing is building this in the first place as per the instructions, and then I'll be looking to modify this or mock it into something that could go into my Lego city. I know there's been various attempts by people to do that before, so I think that's quite a challenge to make that work as a proper building that will fit into a Lego city, but I'm happy to give that a go, probably as a separate video. Now at the moment this is still a current set, you can still get it from Lego, but actually I bought this one from Amazon warehouse because you might be able to see that the box is a bit damaged, but because of the damage to the box I got this at a considerable discount. That doesn't bother me particularly because I'm going to be opening this and building it. So obviously I'm more interested in the contents than the box. So obviously I'm hoping that as the seals are still intact, this is still a complete set. So let's open this up and see what's inside the box. Well, this is quite a heavy set because there are loads of bags of Lego here and a really heavy 3-in-1 Creator instruction booklet that will tell me how to build 3 different models out of this set. Well, there's quite a lot of parts in this first set of bags. You do get a brick separator and an awful lot of very small parts. So I'm going to knoll the main parts of this to see what I've got, and then we'll start building this first part of the build. Now I'm going to use one of these large grey base plates for knolling like I usually do, but this doesn't come with the set, and in fact the set doesn't come with a base plate. It seems to be built on these building plates, which are grey for this part of the build. So what I'll do is I'll use this base plate for knolling, build the set as per the instructions on these building plates, and then later on I'll decide whether I want to reconstruct a set actually onto a base plate. It's great to see all the new parts laid out nicely, get familiar with the parts that go into this set. There's nothing particularly amazing about these parts, although there are some interesting parts and nice colours. And now I'm familiar with all the elements that go into this first part of the set, I'm ready to start the build. So the first thing you build is this little side build of a hot dog stand. It's really cute with a kind of hot dog sign above the stand. a little grill on the bottom here with a hot dog ready for one of the customers. It is a little bit top heavy, but it does kind of work. And then you get this hot dog guy. Funnily enough, he seems to be wearing the same floral shirt as the cameraman on the space research and development set that I made just recently. But he has got a different head, and he's got rather a cute brown baseball cap. So I think that's a really nice little side build to start off the construction of this set. So now we'll move on to the next part of the build, which is to make the ground floor of the cafe building out of all these pieces. So that's the first part of this build completed, and it makes this little cafe with kind of a pavement and a front door and an open back. And while this isn't very large, it's only 12 studs by 8 studs, I'm really impressed with the amount of different build techniques that are included in this little build and the amount of details that they've managed to fit into such a small space. So at the front here you've got a fire hydrant, a little window box, a front door step, a lamp outside, quite a bit of detail around the window with an arch and a kind of a keystone here. Then you've got a front door obviously and a porch with a little 3D sign on the top, which is just a cup, but it's quite effective against that gold background. It's perhaps a shame they couldn't have included just a few more tiles to finish off the pavement at the front here, but that's an easy addition. The rest of the outside is blank on one side and has a window on the other side, and as I said, it's an open back. Moving to the inside, there are some lovely details in here. For example, I really like this hanging light, including a little yellow light bulb that sticks out from the wall on this rod here. There's a bench seat and a table inside the cafe and a little stool. There's even a little cash point here, which is made quite effectively using just a tile with a couple of studs, kind of window for a support piece. It even has a little light above it. And they've managed to fit in a fun little detail here where there's a bit of cheese, and actually in this side wall is a little mouse hole. Now I'm not sure whether that bit of cheese is there to feed the mice or whether it's meant to be actually a mouse trap. But overall I think that's a really smart little build. They've also managed to include a layer of tiling around the top of the walls, and these tiles with 2 studs to allow the top floor to be connected and taken off again. So with the build techniques used, like these arches, all the little details and the fun little additions, as well as the tiling around the top, I think in many ways this is almost a kind of miniature modular building, and would form a really nice basis to expand it into perhaps a half modular building that's 16 studs wide instead of 12 and a little bit deeper, with perhaps a back on it and some more details to make this into a really nice little coffee shop. Okay, so now I can move on to the next part of the set, which makes the yellow townhouse on top of the cafe. Okay, so I've knolled all the parts from bag 2. Nothing particularly amazing in this bag. Lots of light, bright yellow pieces for the walls of the building. Some fence pieces in white. They're always nice, but nothing particularly special. However, I'm looking forward to building this part of the set because it looks like it makes a really nice little townhouse. So let's go on with this part of the build. So the build is just built on 2 of these 4x12 plates, which go together to make an 8x12 plate, forming the floor. And of course that's the same size as the top of the cafe, so it just fits directly on top. However, the footprint is extended slightly when you put this balcony on the front, so that will stick out and make it a bit bigger. When you get pieces like this that are made up of multiple pieces that are just 1x1s, sometimes it's worth just putting them on a flat surface or squeezing them together like that to make sure that they're straight and parallel. These 2 fit rather nicely either side of this window, which is inset here, and it makes for a nice bit of detail in a very compact space. The other clever bit of technique here is that they've inset this window by using 2 jumper plates so that it's inset by half a stud, and that kind of gives you a problem on the top because these studs don't line up now, and this design solves that very cleverly by using these 2x2 corner plates, which when you look at the underside have the ability to put a stud halfway along this side, or indeed along this side, so that when you put that on, that half stud spacing gets resolved and holds the window in place. So here's another nice bit of detail. To provide the lintel across the top of this window, they could have just used a 1x6 white brick like that, but instead we have this rather nice technique with a 1x6 plate, 2 square 1x1 plates at the end and round 1x1 plates in the middle, and when that's capped by another 1x6 plate, you have in effect a 1x6 brick, but with some much more interesting detail. And that just adds to the feeling that this is a much more detailed finish to this building. So there's an amazing bit of detail in this cooking range and sink unit with an oven, controller, sink and tap, and 2 hobs with a pan. Even a bit of snot building technique here with this brick on its side, and that goes really nicely into the little room here. There's even a tiny but rather neat little sideboard unit that goes against the other wall. So there you have the little townhouse unit.
So there you have the little townhouse apartment unit with a balcony and window box, a door to get out to the balcony, a little but rather ornate window on this side, and another window on this side with another window box, again with a kind of ornate surround just to give it a bit of detail. This side is blank, and of course the back is open. Inside you get this rather impressive range against the kitchen window and the little sideboard. There's nothing else though, there's no bedroom, there's no shower room, WC, and when we put that on top of the cafe downstairs, we'll find that actually there's no staircase for getting up to this apartment either. So this is a kind of tiny modular building in miniature. Has a downstairs and an upstairs with two different functions. We've yet to do the roof for the top, obviously, but it does also have an open back, so again it would be nice to maybe extend this apartment slightly, make it a bit bigger, put in a bedroom or living room space, and also to put in a staircase to get up to the upstairs part of this townhouse. So the next bag is bag 3, and that makes the roof for the townhouse and also the corner garden that goes between the two buildings. Again, there's some nice looking parts in this bag, one or two unusual ones like these white parrots that I think must be specific to this set. I haven't seen them anywhere else. Some curved pieces, a minifigure with green legs and a green overall type torso, and some perhaps slightly more unusual parts for making the tree. This rather nice printed tile saying menu, and more plates for making the roof of the townhouse and the garden in the corner between the two buildings. So this is the roof part for the townhouse. It's rather nice, all in white, a lot of detail, including this kind of part of a pitched roof here, and this attempt at a gable end. Doesn't quite go with the pitched roof, but I think that's being a little bit mean. There's some detail along the side as well, which matches up with the detail along the top of the window on the floor below. There are these two parrots providing a very interesting detail to the corners of the roof. And there's a little bit of a roof garden here which has got suggestion of maybe some flowers and some carrots growing on the roof. So the roof is obviously the same size and shape as the top floor of the townhouse, and it just clips on using these tiles with a couple of studs. Fits on rather nicely on the top. You do have this kind of overhang of the roof over the doorway, and you have the repetition of this pattern above the window. So overall that's quite a nice looking finish to the top of the townhouse. Set this window by using two jumper plates so that it's inset by half a stud, and that kind of gives you a problem on the top because these studs don't line up now, and this design solves that very cleverly by using these 2x2 corner plates, which when you look at the underside have the ability to put a stud halfway along this side, or indeed along this side, so that when you put that on, that half stud spacing gets resolved and holds the window in place. So that's the townhouse part of the build complete, really, and we'll move on now to do the garden that sits at the side of the townhouse here and on the corner of the plot occupied by these two buildings. So the corner is a little square or garden area formed by these two 12x6 plates which go together to make a 12x12 area. It's actually a kind of symmetrical build, being built into the corner like this, and it uses these Technic bricks with two holes and Technic pins to connect this corner piece with the adjacent buildings in a similar way to the way that modular buildings connect together using Technic pins. So here you've got the little corner square or courtyard, which must belong to the cafe next door because it's got the two chairs, table with the croissant on it, and the menu, which when it's next to the cafe building will appear next to the wall of the cafe, like so. You've got a little bowl of flowers and a small tree, which is quite nicely done using those two Technic pieces. And there's a little brick-built bird sitting on the tree, which is cute, but it's a bit strange. It contrasts with the nice detail of the parrots that are on the roof. But I think overall it gives quite a nice effect to the little courtyard garden next to the cafe. There is also this brick-built dog, which is kind of weird. I'm not really sure whether it's supposed to be a real dog or a model of a dog or a promotional item for the pet shop or a ride-on or what. So it's cute, but I don't think I'd really want it in my Lego city. So overall though, this is a really nice little scene, which is 24 studs wide by 12 studs deep, forming a cafe on the ground floor with a little outside seating area, a townhouse with a balcony above, and a nice kind of corner aspect with the window on this side of the upper floor. So now we'll move on to the rest of the build, which forms the pet shop, which is going to sit alongside this corner here. Okay, so now we can move on to bag 4, which makes the ground floor of the pet shop. So here we've got the bricks for this part of the set. Obviously there's quite a few blue bricks for the walls, some coloured bricks for the canopy to the shop, quite a lot of flat tiles here for making the decorations outside the shop, and all sorts of other pieces that you need. And you also get a minifigure, which is perhaps a slightly older character, plain legs, plaid shirt, glasses, a grey moustache and grey hair.
The pet shop is built onto two of these grey 6x12 plates, so it's going to be another build that's 12x12 square. So here you can see the footprint for the shop itself is actually only 8 studs by 12 studs, because they've allowed some room at the front for the display and a little bit of pavement. So again, this is going to be really tiny inside and have an open back like the other builds in this set. So here's the ground floor of the rather cute little pet shop build. Has a little bit of pavement outside, a front door, a nice big window through which you can see a toucan inside and some of the contents. Display with some items for your pets, and a really nice kind of 3D sign on the front of a dog, and I guess that's a parrot. And then on the corner here is a really good representation of a cash machine with a little keypad, a screen, I guess a deposit box, and a canopy which is very cleverly made of a chair affixed on its side to stick out and provide a cover for the cash machine. It has an open back with a tiled top like the other build, and a few nice details inside. There's a till area, the toucan that you can see through the window, brick built, a fish in a fish tank, and there seems to be an ongoing kind of joke here because there's a mouse under the counter with a bit of cheese and a mouse hole in the side wall. So overall, that's a really nice little build. So now I can move on to the next bag, which will make the next floor of this building. So we've got some nice groove profile bricks, masonry profile bricks, a couple of nice clear panels and some other clear bricks, as well as a selection of tiles and plates for making the apartment that goes on the next floor of this building. Although there's no minifigure in this bag, it looks like the occupant of this apartment is a racing fan, because there's a rather nice looking decorated tile here with a racing car on it. So we start this time with two 12x4 grey plates which form the base of this apartment on an 8x12 footprint to go on top of the pet shop. So here you have the first level of the apartment. As I said, it's 12 studs wide, 8 studs deep, with an open back. On the front, a lot of glass windows, and this sliding panel, which I guess allows you to change the privacy of part of the apartment. There's a big glass window on this side of the apartment as well, so this kind of has to be a corner. Inside the apartment there's a nice looking modern sofa and a small TV on a kind of, I guess, a hi-fi unit, or maybe it's a bookshelf. The side of the building is made of these masonry profile bricks, but in this case the kind of masonry profile is on the inside. So outside you have these horizontal stripes which look like kind of cladding, but unfortunately they're rather obscured by this large coffee cup sign, which is more associated with the building next door, which is the little coffee shop. And in a way it's a shame that it obscures this side of the building, although you do get more of this cladding on the next floor of the building, which comes in the next
bag of this set. There's also a traffic light sticking out of this level of the building. Again, kind of emphasising that it's a corner because there's traffic signals on 3 sides. Personally, I'm not that keen on the traffic light because I think it obscures the pet shop slightly, and certainly it obscures the cash machine down below. So I think if I'm putting that in my Lego city, especially as it's not going to go on a traffic intersection, I'll be removing this traffic light and possibly modifying the rest of the build of this apartment. As with the townhouse, there's no means of getting up to this apartment. There's no stairs, lift, ladder or anything. So again, that's another thing that I'll be looking to do if I mock this building, is to provide some legitimate means of access to the upper floors. Now this pet shop and apartment building fits very nicely next to the townhouse on the corner. The pavements line up at the bottom and you can clip it on using the Technic pins here. And if you do that, you get one assembly which is 24 studs by 24 studs, forming a really nice corner scene with the little courtyard and the tree in the corner. Very reminiscent really of a corner modular building, but on a slightly smaller scale. So all that remains now is to complete the final story of this apartment building, and then we'll pretty much have the complete model. And so we're on to bag 6, which is the final bag, and that makes the upper floor and roof of the apartment building. So in this bag there's a similar selection to the previous bag, obviously a similar colour scheme because it's meant to be the upper floor of the same building. You do get a door frame and a door this time instead of some of the glass window panels and bricks, but much of the rest of the bricks are the same. Again, the upper floor starts off on 2 4x12 plates which go together to form the floor plate of the upper level of the apartment. However, the actual room's even smaller. It's just over half the size of the footprint. It's actually about 8 studs by 8 studs because there's a little balcony outside as well with a glass balcony screen and a door that nearly opens out onto the balcony, and just enough room inside for a bed. So the upper floor is similar to the lower floor of the apartment in layout, with the same kind of sliding blind arrangement, but it is slightly different in that it is a smaller room with a balcony outside, and there's a kind of pergola arrangement over the balcony. On the roof is this feature, which I take to be a solar water heater, and on the side of the building is an air conditioning unit which also very cleverly mounts this light to illuminate the coffee sign on the floor below. You have the same masonry profile bricks as on the floor below. You can see a bit more of them on this level, and there's this downpipe feature which connects to the building next door when you connect this apartment building to the townhouse, which is a nice thoughtful little detail. Takes the water from the roof of the apartment, puts it onto the roof of the townhouse, but then there's no equivalent downpipe to take the water from there down to the ground. So that completes the build of this set, which now comprises a cafe on the ground floor of a townhouse with a very small apartment above and a tiny little roof garden which has a quite ornate facade on the front, a little balcony, some detail at the front here like the fire hydrant and the light. There's the really nice corner courtyard garden with a table, a couple of chairs, a tree, a little fence, another little window and window box here on the townhouse, and then this separate building which is a pet shop on the ground floor and a two-storey apartment with the living floor on this level and the bedroom on this level. So altogether that makes a really detailed little corner city scene on a 24 by 24 corner. Lots of details to make it feel like it's coming to life. Very colourful with yellow, brown, blue and red colour schemes. It does have the open back, which I suppose is good from a play point of view because you can get in to the different levels. As I've said, there are doors to get into the ground floor levels, and there's a door here for the balcony. But with open backs, I feel these little apartments are a bit small and a bit incomplete. For example, there's no real living area for this apartment, or indeed a bedroom. But I think it's a great build. It's really fun to build. There's lots and lots of details in it, and the result is a really nice little kind of mini modular building. They even come apart because they've got the tile layer, so it's almost a good introduction to building buildings in this manner. So I'm really pleased with this build. I don't think it will go directly into my Lego city as it stands, but I will look to use this as the basis for a mock or a mod to extend and expand the footprint of these buildings and make them more into modular style buildings that would have a place in my Lego city. So look out for that video when I get round to doing that piece of mocking work.
So that was Lego Creator Set 31097, the Townhouse Cafe and Pet Shop. Look out for another video in which I hope to be mocking this set into a modular building. Please like this video if you liked it, and subscribe to this channel if you want to see more videos about Lego sets and modular buildings.